that I was completely prepared, when I came to class this morning. And if I was, I'd have a cup with me. And do you know what would be in that cup? Coffee, tea, water, Red Bull, possibly. But none of those things would be in that cup. It's actually a trick question. What I'm more concerned with is what's not in that cup, and that's alcohol. Good morning, everybody. My name is Brendan Nelson. You may remember me from such speeches as "Screw you, Ferris, I've earned my day off, my mama loves me," and also "Stick, Shift, and Rhyme," a Brendan Nelson original. But today, myself and my esteemed colleague, Dr. Rondale Davis, PhD, DDS, OBGYN, we are going to debate the minimum legal drinking age in this country. Okay?
Woo!
We're going to debate this morning. We are masters at it, let me tell you. All right? Now, as someone who is of age, I have the right to drink. And what's more important, though, is that I can do it without fear of legal ramifications or stigmatization. However, the same cannot be said for those of our fallen brethren who are under the age of 21. Our youth are exposed to a variety of pressures during their adolescence. And what's more is that we ask so much of them when they reach the legal age of majority. We ask them to join the armed forces, to vote, to serve on a jury, sign contracts, and even allow themselves to be prosecuted as an adult. However, for all we ask of them, we do not afford them certain basic privileges. And for one intangible reason or another, this privilege to drink is looked forward to with the same level of anticipation, if not more, than other certain important aspects in a young adolescent's life, such as getting their license, seeing a rated R movie, getting a car, taking it to make out rich, whatever, what have you. And our standards that we have set for them in society are unfair. We should instead hold media and advertisers accountable for creating the kind of hype and circumstances surrounding alcohol consumption. And to prove my point, just think back to the last time you saw an alcohol commercial. What was it about? Most likely an average to decently good-looking male was just overwhelmed by several gorgeous, scantily clad women the second he cracked open a cold one, wearing next to nothing, being subservient to his needs, all because he opened a beer of his choice. This is not only highly unrealistic, but it enforces gender stereotypes and other things in society. And besides that, has that actually happened to anybody in here? I'd like to know, because I've been doing a lot of drinking, and it's never happened to me. My liver cannot take much more testing this theory, but I put my liver on the line for you in this class. Now on to the facts. Although the minimum legal drinking age is 21, exceptions exist in various states. Now, to be clear, the minimum legal drinking age is 21. The age of majority is 18. And in 47 out of the 50 states, that is true. And by the age of majority, I mean a person that is allowed to do what the majority of these people are allowed to do: vote, serve in the military, so on and so forth. And to those states who intended to give those who are of the age of majority the right to drink, they risk losing millions in federal funding for highways and such due to the National Minimum Legal Drinking Age Act of 1984. Now, things are often taken for granted, like being able to vote, serve in a jury or the armed forces and whatnot, apply for loans of credit, so on and so forth. They come with the same important consequences if looked upon, or if taken for granted, such as drinking. If we allow our youth to vote, what if they vote for a politician that makes decisions that are injurious to the public? Or what if they serve on a jury and wrongly convict somebody, sentence them to a life in prison, or sentence them to death? Or what if they go into the army and they end up killing somebody because, well, that's part of their service there? Without belaboring the point, it's clear to see that while it would seem that giving them these great gifts of citizenry, to our youth who are of the age of majority, they clearly have to be pensive and think carefully about each of their decisions, these things that come with adulthood, not just drinking alone. The same holds true for alcohol consumption. They have to make sure that they're not consuming too much, they don't injure themselves and others. They have to make sure they're not going to drive, operate machinery, possess a weapon, so on and so forth, make illegal or immoral choices. I mean, anybody in this country can go to a shooting range who's of legal age and they can shoot a gun. They can have a kid. It's not required a license for that. But somebody who's willing to go and join the army and take a bullet for our civil liberties can't have a shot themselves. Anyways. These things come with experience and education. And if we can teach our youth to drink in moderation, explain to them the pros and cons of drinking, they can reach a decision on their own. Currently, we as a society are not fulfilling that need, and we seem to equate drinking with maturity, and as a result, it makes drinking taboo and perpetuates stereotypes. And by lowering the drinking age, we can dispel this misconception. Further proof that the drinking age should be lowered is and can be recognized by everyone in this room. By keeping it at 21, it prompts those who wish to drink to either procure a false ID, which has its own penalty, to do that, or they have to drink in unsupervised, almost secretive areas, whether it's a house party, a fraternity or sorority, things of that nature. And as a result, these teens who are already uneducated about alcohol consumption, they're going to engage in activities like binge drinking, and when they get hurt, knowing that they're already breaking the law, they're not going to want to go forward and get the help they need. Or if something goes wrong, they're going to try to cover it up, which just makes the situation even worse than it is. So people are getting needlessly hurt and irreparable damage could possibly be done. A lower drinking age could prevent this, as we can allow teens who are of the age of majority to drink in open places like bars, restaurants, so on and so forth. And while it's their decision how much they're going to drink, obviously if something goes wrong, they can get the help that they need. In addition, keeping the minimum legal drinking age at 21 is a really ineffective way to spend taxpayers' money. Because despite all the funds expended, this problem still exists. And it's a huge problem. There's no effective way to completely stop drinking. Prohibition, anybody? The money spent on prosecuting these youth could more effectively be spent on educating them and teaching them how to drink in moderation and protect themselves. Also, I think the most important fact is that keeping the minimum legal drinking age at 21 is a highly ineffective way, it's unconstitutional. For those youth that are ages 18 to 20, as we have discussed, the age of majority, which constitutionally gives them all the rights and privileges of an adult. And since adults are allowed to drink, why should those who are between the ages of 18 and 20 be disregarded? Dr. Davis is going to take it from here.
Dr. Davis.
All right, thank you. My name is Rondale Davis. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to come up here and say that we should have had these group speeches been held to a minimum of 5 minutes or a maximum of 5 minutes per group, but that's not exactly a government issue, so I'll speak on something more relevant to the class. As we're waking up this morning and we're speaking about this alcohol debate, I'm sure by now we've heard all the facts. We've probably been beating this topic like a dead horse, but it's my job to open your eyes to what's truly behind the problem of alcohol. As we all know, alcohol is a depressant. It's something that not only depresses, but can even lead to death. What you may not know is that each year thousands of people choke on their own vomit while intoxicated. How depressing is that? I mean, it doesn't sound like a fun experience to me. When we've heard that by the time students are in the 8th grade, around 55% of the students have at least tried or tasted alcohol. These issues aren't even the main focus of my argument. My focus can be illuminated through a very simple question. Who here likes funerals? I don't think anybody does. And did you know that over 100,000 deaths occur each year due to the effects of alcohol? That's a lot of funerals. Did you know that alcohol is also one of the most popular and commonly addicted drugs? The deaths from the use of these drugs is hurting our nation, and we can't allow more of our population to be able to legally consume this culturally damaging drug. 21 is the current drinking age, and I believe that law is perfectly fine the way it is. One is more responsible and in better mental position to properly handle alcohol. Drinking also leads to a lot of cases of violence and is a drug that, if overconsumed, as we know, can lead to death. We shouldn't want something that is hurting our nation to be accessible to teenagers at the age of 18. They already get into enough car accidents as it is, and allowing them to drink liquor will only escalate those numbers. More often than not, those accidents occur with people that thought they didn't have too much to drink. And they may have truly drank in moderation, but the facts are there and these accidents do happen. The earlier a person begins alcohol use, the greater chances are of that person becoming an alcoholic in life, suffering negative physical, sexual symptoms. That means not getting up for you fellas. It's even harmful to brain development. If one chooses to drink, it should be at a time when their body can handle alcohol. So that it doesn't lead to excessive vomiting and displeasure from not knowing one's limits, and so that we don't have more people sharing Eric's early drinking experiences. Hospitals each weekend near college campuses have to stock up on tools to lower blood alcohol content. Just imagine if all the students were allowed to drink. It would only make a bad problem worse. Since teens who drink alcohol have a higher chance of academic failure, allowing teens to drink would negatively affect more students' academic performance. Going into college with the ability to drink would lower a lot of students' GPAs right from the moment they begin their classes. It's a financial, physical, and even sometimes emotional commitment that has enough problems with adults, and introducing it to teens would not make the situation any better. Can you imagine a sober-minded 18-year-old making a good voting decision? Now try imagining how hard it is for a drunk 18-year-old to make a good voting decision. I mean, as we get older, we just happen to grow into more privileges, and that's the way of the culture in the United States. Because teens are going through physical changes, suffering and facing peer pressure, in and out of new situations and urges, allowing them to consume alcohol can make them more vulnerable to a drug and substance abuse, unplanned and unprotected sex, depression, violence, and a bunch of other social ills. The violence that our culture often praises is something that most of us don't suffer or experience on a regular basis. When alcohol is introduced, however, we all know that the chances of one being violent and making bad decisions is highly increased. If the law doesn't keep our teens from this, I don't think anything will. Studies have shown that the current minimal legal drinking age laws set at 21 are working because the percentage of underage drinkers has decreased since 1984 when the Massachusetts law was introduced. There is progress being made, and it's a battle we need to keep fighting.
Now, I'm sure my colleague has attempted to dissuade you from my argument and claim that it is illogical and without merit. And he has said that teenagers are irrational themselves and hormone-driven creatures who suffer from these physiological setbacks, such as still undergoing brain development and such. And he's also claimed that their lack of life experience will prevent them from making good decisions as they do not know enough. And to that I say, how does an expert like yourself become an expert? Do you not have to learn by making mistakes, or having someone who does know explain and teach to you? And again, I say, how did they learn? My point is that our youth are in a privileged position to learn from our mistakes as adults. We can teach them how to demonstrate the responsibility that we either did or didn't at their age, and in turn make a better generation than our own. Let's not make our youth bear the brunt for our mistakes because we failed to teach. Something I'm sure that we both can agree on, however, though, is that there are no classy drunks. And educated or not, sloppy is just downright unattractive. And all I'm asking us to do in this room is let's bring sexy back. Let's remove the stigma and stereotype around drinking that we helped to create. And let's abide by the very same laws that we use to indoctrinate our youth into adulthood as we do to prosecute them. Thank you.
All right, we can point out a bunch of problems and issues within our society that need to be changed. Things such as the schooling system, the marriage system, or even the lodging system. Or we can be realistic and take society for what it is, as most of us will do anyway. There's something in your gut that just twists at the thought of someone vomiting, and often you tend to lose respect for those who vomit or get out of control when under the influence of liquor. Let us please keep teens away from this. The experiences are not ideal, and they're not ones we should want anyone to go through, especially not our youth. Don't get me wrong, moderation is great, and too much of anything is a bad thing. You could even say moderation is ideal, but patience is a virtue. I hope we can all be a little bit more patient today. Thank you.
Great job, guys.